David might be beating Goliath again.
A US fighter jet, and they've put out a bounty for the pilot because the pilot landed somewhere in Iran.
We had the F-15 that was hit by Iranian strikes that went down. Search and rescue operations were ongoing. Then, according to NBC News, 2 US helicopters that were involved in search and rescue efforts were struck by Iranian fire. One pilot of the F-15 was rescued. The search is ongoing for the other. Meanwhile, a US Air Force A-10 Warthog crashed into the Persian Gulf.
All right, now, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but them shots is getting real close, y'all.
The guy at the DOD, Petey Cagsburth, the cockerhead cracker Klansman that he be, that gets on TV and tells you that we're winning bigly and that we've decimated everything as he tries to gargle through Daddy's DNA in his throat, boo. What I want you to know today is that they've come out to say that they may have misestimated all of the deaths in the Middle East. The Iranian ones, dear.
Chinese engineering social media account in just the last couple of weeks has gone viral. Over 10 million views for something that is very odd. You're not going to believe it, basically. If you're in the English-speaking Western world, it's very jarring. It's very different. The account provided a detailed tutorial, no doubt an academic exercise, not a practical... Anyway, a detailed tutorial on how to take down an F-35 fighter jet.
I don't know how many American soldiers' lives have been lost in this needless, illegal war of choice that we're calling the Iran War. I know that the American media is doing stenography for a Pentagon that I am certain is lying to us.
So what are we witnessing right now? It's not just another moment in a distant conflict. It's a situation that is rapidly evolving into something far more serious, far more unpredictable, and far more dangerous than many people initially expected. Because after waves of strike, bold statements, and claims of control over the skies, the narrative suddenly shift when reports emerge that an American F-150E Strike Eagle, a symbol of advanced air power and dominance, was brought down over Iran territory, sending shockwaves across military circles and online communities alike, and instantly raising a question that nobody can ignore anymore. In this particular thing going on right now, is it beginning to have a backfire? Because for weeks the message had been clear, controlled and confident, with assurance that operations were precise, calculated and overwhelmingly successful. But the moment that jet went down, everything changed, not just on the battlefield but in the perception, in moral, and in the psychological dominance of the conflict, where images and narratives can be just as powerful and as strong as the fighting jet itself. Now suddenly, instead of just headlines about strikes and dominance, we are seeing stories about survival, about pilots ejecting into hostile territories, about desperate moments behind enemy line, and about a rescue mission so complex and risky that it involves multiple aircraft, coordination under pressure, and the constant threat of being targeted again. Because when a pilot goes down in enemy territory, it is no longer just about machineries or strategies. It becomes deeply human, deeply personal, and incredibly urgent. Anyway guys, thank you so much for always watching my videos. Welcome back to Cloud Pause. If you're new here, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section. Okay, I'm so happy and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed to my channel, everyone who watched these videos. Please, if you're new here, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section, because I always want to know what you all think, right? All right, these clips that I have posted remains the original creators of these videos. All right guys, let's let the rest of the clips go, and then we'll come back and discuss about this more. Let's go.
We have some breaking Iran war news right now. The United States Air Force has had a really rough day in Iran today. We had the F-15 that was hit by Iranian strikes that went down. Search and rescue operations were ongoing. Then, according to NBC News, 2 US helicopters that were involved in search and rescue efforts were struck by Iranian fire. One pilot of the F-15 was rescued. The search is ongoing for the other. Meanwhile, a U.S. Air Force A-10 Warthog crashed into the Persian Gulf. The pilot was rescued. The cause is still not fully clear. So you had 2 helicopters hit by conducting search and rescue operations for an F-15 that was hit. You also had a A-10 Warthog crash as well. Very serious, because the President of the United States and Pete Hegseth have been claiming that the United States has air superiority over Iran, and yet Iran was able to strike multiple U.S. aircrafts today. Spread the word. Follow along for all the news you need to know about.
The U.S. government is lying about the number of current military casualties in their war on Iran. Current U.S. death tolls are reported to be in the single digits, with only 6 confirmed U.S. soldier deaths. But Iranian media claims to have killed over 500 U.S. soldiers. Top Iranian security official Ali Larijani reports 560 U.S. troop casualties, a figure that is not reported in U.S. media. This is, however, being reported outside of the U.S. China's reporting it. Spain is reporting it. But the U.S. military has already accidentally revealed that there are more casualties than they're letting on, with a now deleted job posting. The U.S. Dover Air Base in Denver was actually caught posting and deleting a job notice about a position for shipping the belongings of U.S. military casualties. The personal effects specialist position was posted for urgent hiring, suggesting that there are more casualties than the U.S. government is letting on. And this comes after Donald Trump's comments at Mar-a-Lago this weekend that there will likely be more casualties in the Iran operation, and that's just the way it is. Sounds like they were already aware of there being more deaths and were just trying to cover for themselves.
David might be beating Goliath again. I don't know how many American soldiers' lives have been lost in this needless, illegal war of choice that we're calling the Iran War. I know that the American media is doing stenography for a Pentagon that I am certain is lying to us. Is it really only 6 people? I don't know. But I do know that Iranian media says it's 500 people. If we know that we've lost a few hundred Americans out of this, the American people will freak out. We are already freaked out. We do not want this at all. But that could make it even worse. The Iranian regime is willing to undergo that sort of loss for them to stay in power. So how do we possibly win this thing? I also know that the American media, which is taking stenography from the Pentagon, does not want to talk about how this is not going well for the Americans. Generally, we're seeing $50,000 drones from Iran being shot into the sky and sometimes being shot down by Patriot interceptor missiles that cost $1, $2, $3 million. This is economically asymmetrical warfare. Those $50,000 drones, they're going to have more of those than we're going to have of these Patriot missiles. American media is doing stenography for the Pentagon. If you just watch American media, you would think we're crushing them. You would have no idea what's going on. I'm watching Al Jazeera English every day. It's a far different story over there. It's very hard to know how many American soldiers have lost their lives when we have a Pentagon that we know is completely willing to lie to us. But we do have Iranian media, including this amazing creator.
The U.S. is hiding multiple casualties from us in its war on Iran. And how do we know? Take a look at Landstuhl Hospital. Landstuhl is the largest U.S. military hospital outside of the United States. It's also the primary destination for critically injured U.S. troops serving in the Middle East. And they're preparing for a large influx of patients. According to a memo sent out to patients this week, the hospital is halting all of its labor and delivery services, emptying that wing of the hospital and referring all of their patients to other nearby hospitals so that they can fulfill their primary objective. And what's their primary objective again? Oh yeah, caring for critically injured U.S. soldiers. combat care for those injured in the Middle East.
If you think that you can understand this conflict just listening to Western sources and acting like Iranian media and Middle Eastern sources have no idea what they're talking about, or you can't trust them, but you can trust Western media, which is clearly a stenographer for a Pentagon that is obviously willing to lie to you, that's nuts. That's fucking crazy.
بسم الله قاسم الجبارین. با توجه به شرارت‌ها و اقدامات تروریستی دشمنان آمریکایی صهیونیستی و هدف قرار دادن منازل مسکونی مردم ایران در شهرهای مختلف، نیروهای مسلح جمهوری اسلامی ایران در اقدامی تلافی جویانه محل سکونت فرماندهان و مسئولان سیاسی آمریکا و رژیم صهیونیستی در منطقه و سرزمین‌های اشغالی را هدف قرار خواهند داد و من نصر الا من عند الله العزیز الحکیم.
Well, shit just escalated. I'm wondering why Iran is making an announcement and why they took this long. If it were me, the moment Ayatollah Khamenei was killed, all bets are off. Everyone is fair game. Every single person is fair game. But as you've heard, now they said they're going to now start attacking America and Zionist allies in their homes. You know what that means? Doha, Qatar, not Yemen, UAE, the allies of the Zionist regime, they're going to start attacking their homes.
Our bases across the country were gun-free zones. Unless you're training or unless you are a military policeman, you couldn't bring your own firearm for your own personal protection on to post. Well, that's no longer. The memo I'm signing today directs installation commanders to allow requests for personal protection to carry a privately owned firearm, with the presumption that it is necessary for personal protection. If a request is for some reason denied, the reason for that denial will be in writing and will explain in detail the basis for that direction. Again, the presumption is service members will be able to have their Second Amendment right on post. Not all enemies are foreign, nor are they all outside our borders. Some are domestic. Confirming your God-given right to self-protection is what I'm signing into action today, and I'm proud to do so.
Obviously, that was Secretary Hegseth, and what he signed into order today is that all service members can request to carry their personal firearm on base for personal protection. Now, what specifically does this mean for you as the individual Marine or soldier, airman, sailor that lives in the barracks? I have no idea. I haven't seen the entirety of the memo, just basically that video, and that was the last minute of the video. The first minute was just talking about the history of the United States of America being founded on the Second Amendment and all that other stuff. This video leaves me with a lot of questions, just as I'm sure it's going to leave you with a lot of questions, but in the meantime, what do you think about it? I'm indifferent, to be honest with you. I'm truly indifferent about this. But when the memo's released, we'll see exactly what it says, so stay tuned.
Lohu Talks World, a Chinese engineering social media account, in just the last couple of weeks has gone viral. Over 10 million views for something that is very odd. You're not going to believe it, basically. If you're in the English-speaking Western world, it's very jarring, it's very different. The account provided a detailed tutorial, no doubt an academic exercise, not a practical... Anyway, a detailed tutorial on how to take down an F-35 fighter jet, one of the most advanced 5th generation stealth fighters used by the US and selected friends and allies. Currently, the F-35s are being used over the skies of Iran, and this tutorial basically said this is how you take one of these down using low-cost, relatively inferior technology that Iran has. 5 days after this post went viral in the Middle Kingdom, that is China, Iran claimed it did actually take down an F-35. Not destroying it completely, it has to be said, but the US did acknowledge, even the US acknowledged, that damage had been done to one of their F-35s and it had to carry out emergency landing procedures. This is widely reported even from American sources. Coincidence that it comes just 5 days after detailed instructions on social media in China? I think not. That was a joke, by the way. It was a reference to the film The Incredibles. Incredible film. 10 out of 10. Would superhero again. with Pixar animations. The most notable thing in this here news is that the Chinese state has chosen not to block these accounts or their content. Oh, our citizens, very capable engineering students and graduates, some working in world-leading fields, are providing missile strategies, U.S. asset coordinates across the Middle East, and U.S. invasion simulations. They're doing simulations. They're giving suggestions on how Iran could defend against an attack, for example, on Chabahar or on Qeshm Island or Kharg Island or Hormuz Island. Oh yeah, no, there's nothing to see here. Carry on. We don't mind. The Chinese state has not stopped this, and we'll talk about that why that's important in the second section, because that was the news. Now here's the analysis. I've actually got some tea, but I'm not gonna lie. I just had what time is it? I had a late lunch basically, and I'm feeling a fizzy drink now. You guys might have noticed those cans at the back. I basically don't do anything fake. So only when I want to drink one do I drink one. But this is Zanti Cola, for those who don't know. If you go to the website drinkzanti.com, you can probably get yours. I know loads of people have asked about America. Yeah, I don't know if they're in America yet. But thank you to Zanti for sponsoring my, the show we got here, the thing we're doing here, they're my first sponsor. So, shukran. Jazakallah khair. 4 flavors all there. Orange, lemon and lime, the regular cola, and a sugar-free variant. It's like a sort of, fizzy drinks for people with certain, ethical or moral concerns with, let's say, mainstream outlets of fizzy drinks, not media. Anyway, that was the news. Now here's the analysis. Guys, what if I told you that Great Power USA has 130,000 engineering students that graduate every year? That's a lot of engineers. But China has 1.3 million. Ha! That's 10 times as many. That's 10 times more engineers graduating per year in China, in the country known for construction stuff and made in China, right? That's probably where engineers get a lot more work done. America's system at an overarching economic level is that newly created wealth pools at the top, where the elites, that utilize the pay-to-win democracy system currently in place, for better or worse, the elites make it so that new wealth generated is sort of pooled right at the top. China, on the other hand, is growing faster than America, first of all, in terms of its overall economy. And at the same time, that new wealth is being distributed more evenly. Capitalism still works in China. It's not a communist state, by the way. It's a socialist state with Chinese characteristics, which basically means it's a socialism-capitalism hybrid. I won't bore you with the details because this is not an economy video, though some of you, I'm sure, would want to know more. We'll do longer videos at some point, hopefully. But yeah, China has millionaires, they have billionaires, but the state steps in if the practices of any given individual or company are deemed harmful to the greater good of the nation or its people. As a result, a lot more is spent on, infrastructure projects, engineering, a lot less on, let's say, military, and a lot more efficiently on military, as opposed to America, where you can just $800 hammer, say no more, bruv, say no more. I'll send a bill to the US government, who I have lobbied, lobbied, to buy my $800 hammers, and that's obviously taxpayer money paying for that $800 hammer. It's a bit peak. Anyway, so this country, China, a massive nation with loads of engineers, with a lot of practice doing engineer things and making engineer noises, help from this country to Iran would no doubt be appreciated by the Iranian state. Now, what if I told you civilian engineers in China are going viral on Baidu, Douyin, and other Chinese social media apps, Youku, which is like their YouTube sort of WeChat, for sharing tutorial videos with titles like how to take down a F-35 over Iran, with Persian subtitles, Farsi subtitles, in case it wasn't clear who their target audience is. It's just so different. Most people here in the West, where I live, are either supportive of the war in Iran. They're like, yeah, Iran shouldn't have nukes and this and that and the other. Or they're neutral. Or, this is a growing number, even in the West, they are opposed to the war in Iran. But opposing it is to call for an end to it. But bro, the Chinese are out here emailing base coordinates to man like Hussein in Kermanshah so that he knows where to aim his next Khaybar Shakan before he says Bismillah and launches it, lets it rip like a Beyblade. Bruv, that's not opposing a war. That's not asking for its end. That's taking Iran's side so they can schmeg the invaders and the attackers. That's very different from what's going on in the Western countries. It's another reminder that although China has not entered the war directly, kinetically, America knows, and Iran knows, and basically the whole world knows that Iran and China are natural global South allies, resisting an America that seems eager to reassert its power on the world stage as best it can, given the circumstances and the declining relative power it has in this multipolar world that we are moving into. All in this case, all for the sake of its sweetheart Izzy boy, no less. And these social media posts seemingly supportive of Iranian military defensive maneuvers or defense attempts are further supporting it with advice, right? Guidance, tips and tricks. These are not government-backed advice, mind you, to the best of my knowledge, but China has a very paternalistic government. So like a father watching very closely what their child is doing. So if the Chinese state wanted something not said by their citizens, citizens aren't going to be able to say it. It is what it is. That's the reality. So if the social media, posts are staying up, it suggests the Chinese government is okay with it, or more likely, they support it. The states in action in China on taking down such posts, guidelines on how to defend Kharg Island from an engineer's perspective, how to shoot down an F-35, like that kind of post not being taken down by the Chinese state is arguably, by my assessment, a soft endorsement in and of itself. Very telling. The war continues into day 35 almost, and for better or worse, Iran endures. I messed that last sentence up. Damn it! I thought I was doing really well. But it's one take, guys. It's one take. Life's one take. And we're just here. We're just out here having a chat, bruv.
I just wanted to do a quicker version of talking about the generals who were fired by Hegseth, because I know that will get pushed around a little bit more when it gets hidden in a 10-minute, Iran update, like it does this morning. Sometimes the algorithm doesn't push it around. I think it's important for people to know. As you are probably aware of right now, Hegseth fired the Army Chief of Staff, General George, as well as two others, General David Hodney, who leads the Army's Training and Doctrine Command, and Major General William Green, who is the Army's Chief of Chaplains. There's also been some reporting that he has reached down multiple times for more than a dozen Black and female senior officers and delayed or blocked their promotion as well. And the New York Times is reporting that there is growing frustration and anger inside the senior military ranks of the U.S. military over this. We are talking during the middle of a major conflict, a war with Iran, and Hegseth is removing people. And that is likely because, I don't have reporting on this, it is likely because there was pushback about what he is trying to do and the strategy of Trump and Hegseth, which is probably going to get a ton of people killed. And they're pushing back on that and the validity and the, intelligence of that, which is their job. That's what they're supposed to do, is to accomplish the mission and try to save lives as well. And so giving their input, that's part of their job. But when they do this, again, these are people that all over the senior military, they've served with them for multiple decades in multiple conflicts, Iraq and Afghanistan. And you're removing brothers and sisters who have sacrificed and fought and lost with them. And that is going to piss off a ton of people. It is not going to make everybody all of a sudden bend over and say, like, hey, do whatever you want. We're okay with it. It is going to lead to frustration and anger of like, what the fuck are you doing? These are our most experienced, battle-tested leaders, and you're removing them because they disagreed with you as per their job to disagree with you when you're wrong and to give you valid insight and input. So this goes with, the stuff since the beginning where Hegseth has been a running meme inside the military, and people are mocking him for this fake alpha, bullshit that he tries to push and trying to get a soundbite every time he speaks. and it's not going over well with the military. They see right through that shit. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and it's going to be interesting to see what the House Armed Services Committee, Senate Armed Services Committee says about that, this leadership change in the middle of a war, but they're on recess. So, yeah, I just wanted to provide that so it gets out a little bit more and people are aware. Please do not be scared. The military will not bend. They will not be running through the streets. They're just getting more angry at Hegseth and Trump.
And the thing is, while one crew member was successfully rescued in what many are calling a daring and high-risk operation, the situation surrounding the second crew member added even more tension, more uncertainty, and more intensity to an already volatile situation, as reports indicated that he had to evade capture, hide, survive, and wait for extraction in that which was not only unfamiliar but actively dangerous, turning the entire scenario into a real life survival story unfolding in the middle of a conflict zone. At the same time, another layer of this story began to spread rapidly, especially online, where claims started circulating that Iran was encouraging civilians to help locate or capture the downed pilot, with talks of reward and bounty like incentives being mentioned, which immediately escalated the emotional and psychological weight of the situation, because now it wasn't just military versus military, it was the idea of an entire environment becoming hostile, where anyone could be a threat and where the line between battlefield and civilian space begins to blur. This is where things become even more intense, because whether fully verified or amplified through propaganda, these kinds of narratives serve a purpose. They create fear, they create pressure, and they shift the psychological balance, making every movement, every decision, every delay feel heavier and more dangerous, not just for those directly involved, but for everyone watching from the outside, trying to understand what is really going on. And then comes the wave of online claims, the viral posts, the dramatic deadlines saying multiple jets was brought down in a single day, numbers being thrown around, stories growing bigger and bigger. And while many of these claims remain unverified, their impact is real, because perception spread faster than facts. And in modern conflict, what people believe is happening can sometimes no matter just as much as what is actually happening. So now the conversation has shifted from confidence to caution, from dominance to doubt, from control to uncertainty, because every single confirmed loss in this kind of high stakes environment carries weight. It sends a message, it forces recalculations, and it reminds everyone involved that no matter how advanced the technology, no matter how strong the strategy, nothing in this kind of conflict is ever guaranteed. This incident, it becomes bigger than just one aircraft, bigger than just one mission, because it exposes tracks in the narratives, it raises questions about intelligence, about preparedness, and about how both sides are adapting in real time, and about what might happen next if escalation continues in this direction. Also, this that's the real concern here, not just what has already happened, but what it could lead to, because when tensions rise, when both sides feel the need to respond, to prove strength, to avoid appearing weak, the risk of further escalation becomes very real. And history has shown time and time again that situations like these can spiral quickly if not carefully managed. At the end of the day, what we are seeing is a powerful reminder that this kind of conflict is never as simple as it is sometimes presented. It is unpredicted, and it is complex. It is constantly shifting, and it carries consequences that go far beyond the immediate headlines, affecting not just those directly involved, but the global landscape as a whole. And right now, all eyes are watching, waiting, and wondering, is this just a single incident in a larger conflict, or is this the moment where everything begins to change? Anyway, guys, Let me know what you all think in the comments, because I really want to understand what's going through you all's mind, like what you all are actually thinking right now, because this is becoming something that everyone is beginning to sit up, and everyone is beginning to like read headlines to understand exactly what exactly is going on, and how things can get better, or if things are even going to get better to start with. So let me know what you all think in the comments. If you're new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section. Please subscribe to this channel, because here we talk about things that happened around the globe, things that people do not bring in light to. Okay, so don't forget that here we all discuss about things happening around the globe, because actually appreciate it when you drop your comments in the comment section. All right, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments. All right, remain to the original creators of these clips that I've posted. All right guys, thanks so much for watching. Clap, pause, and then I'll see you in the next. Bye.